With the Bob and Tom Show here with Costaki Economopoulos at Radio Row, and we're so happy to be joined by Suzy Schuster. How you doing, Suzy?
I'm well, thanks. Are you enjoying your time in L.A.? We're freezing. You guys all think that it's warm and balmy here, but when it's below 60 degrees or 65, we put on our winter jackets.
You've gotten soft. Yes. I live in Venice, and the last couple of weeks have been like, it's pretty cold out here. What's happening? Yeah.
Oh, it's totally lame. I'm from New England, and the minute I moved to L.A. 20 years ago to launch Fox Sports Net, I turned into a total wussy. So whenever I go back to the East Coast and I'm like, oh God, I need a sweater. Like, it's 75 degrees. Get over it. So everybody, all the media, when they come out for LA, All-Star games and what have you, they always freak out. And everyone's wearing shorts. And we know if somebody's wearing shorts in February that they're not from here.
Now, when it comes to LA food, are you more of a vegan spot person or a taco truck person?
I'm not a truck person. I'm a Vito's pizza person.
Got it. Okay.
The taco thing, I never quite got into it. I grew up with El Paso tacos from a seasoning container you get at the supermarket. Mm-hmm. So I never got into that. But I would say skip those trucks and go to Vito's Pizza.
My notes say you went to Columbia. That's a good school.
I did. It's a cute little school in Manhattan. And in fact, the funny thing is when I was covering the Lakers back during the Shaq and Kobe years, I was the beat reporter for Fox Sports Net. Phil Jackson used to give the reporters a really hard time and kind of always, one-up them intellectually and what have you. He liked to give players books to read. And I remember, back in the day, it was me and a whole lot of Playboy playmates. So a lot of women weren't taken quite as seriously in the locker room. So one day I happened to have a book in my bag, and Phil looked in the book, and he said, "What are you reading?" And I told him. He said, "Where did you go to school?" And I said, "I went to Columbia." Phil, where did you go? And we got along splendidly ever since then.
That's great. I used to live in that neighborhood. That's why I asked. It's been a while, but I like that part of the world. The Upper West Side is good to me.
Heights?
Yeah, a little further south.
Heights.
Yeah.
I am. Yeah, I'm an Upper West Sider. My mother lives there still, and it's pretty special.
That George Carlin's neighborhood. They named a street after him up that way, finally. It's pretty cool.
Some of the greatest comedians in history lived on the Upper West Side. A lot of them right along the corridor of Central Park West. In fact, it's funny. My husband became very close with Jeffrey Ross, the comedian, who happens to be my first guest on Just Getting Started, because he met him on the street.
Look at you, pro segue lady.
Do you like how I did that? I can keep name dropping and tell you that he met Jerry Seinfeld on Central Park West and 77th Street. And I think Jerry thought he was a stalker at first, but then it turned out that, thank God, he recognized him from Sports Center.
That's the cool thing about New York. You see all those characters. All right, tell us about the podcast. I want to hear all about this.
I'm thrilled that you're letting me do that. Rich started Just Getting Started 2 years ago. He's now building out the Rich Eisen podcast brand, and Westwood One asked me if I would be interested in taking it over, and I was thrilled to do so because it's really talking to people about how they got their break and how they got started. What was their sliding doors moment in which, remember that movie Sliding Doors?
Yeah.
With Gwyneth Paltrow, who, by the way, is coming up on Just Getting Started. But basically, what was that moment?
You're self-cleaning. We could just get out of the way and let you do this.
Yeah, what are you, some kind of professional broadcaster? My goodness.
Please, it's not like I haven't done this for 20 years. You're so much more interesting than talking to my kids, so there you go. But basically, I want to talk to people about how they got their break. What gave them the impetus, you could say the balls to move forward and to move forward and find their careers, find out who they were meant to be. And, I just think that the world is heavy right now, that I want to give people some hope and inspiration. And that's the best way that I can do it, is by telling stories.
Yeah, I like this. This sounds like a great podcast. I haven't heard it yet myself, but I'm going to pay attention and give it a listen.
Well, I would ask you then to go and subscribe to it on your Cumulus podcast or wherever you find your podcast. But we have great guests coming up. Jeffrey Ross and I taped yesterday. Michael Irvin, Marshall Falk. I've got asked out, actually Paul Rudd's coming on, Gwyneth Paltrow. I have Jerry West coming on. I'm trying to think of who else I'm hitting up. I like to hit up all of our friends.
That's great.
I have some Ted Lasso guys. So I also want to open it up to those of us, to those of you who will listen to it, to reach out to me and say, I want this person, and I'll hunt them down and make them do it.
Is there a dream guest?
Poor Rich. You get a window into our marriage.
Is there a dream guest, someone that you would want to land on your podcast, find out where they got started?
Oh, God, that's a great question, and I should have been ready for that one. I think, it's funny, I tend to skew away from celebrities. I think that you get a little, I like people who are from I would like to, oh, God, now I'm thinking I'm on the radio, so I've got to think of an answer fast. I think that I want to talk to Chloe Kim.
We're not in any hurry, Suzy.
I know, Chloe Kim would be interesting because I don't understand how you get the confidence to go upside down the way she does. But I'd also I'm going to skew towards some of the women too. But I can get Jeff Bezos on. Let's find out how he actually started that thing in his backyard and garage. What I care about more than anything are the people who weren't born on third base. Like Elizabeth Banks is an actress who's a friend of mine. She grew up in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Massachusetts is not a direct, nonstop flight to L.A. How do you become like a huge star? How do you become a director? How do you know that you have it deep within you? So it's going to be a mix of celebrity and entrepreneurs and athletes. And then sometimes I have somebody in mind who may not be the biggest name, but he's behind all of the greatest TV shows that you've ever watched. And so I want to know where you get that genius to write what I call, fantasy world. I write journalism style productions. I don't know how these people write these shows. How do you write a television show?
Yeah, that's daunting.
So I might want to...
to stare at a page with nothing on it and eventually put something on it that's interesting and compelling and has a story arc. And that takes some real talent for sure. I love the phrase, not born on third base. It's great.
Yeah, right. I would have loved to have had Stephen Botch go on.
Right.
I look at someone like that who has provided decades of entertainment out of his own skull. Like, how does that work?
Right.
I'm in such awe of people who can do that. It's one thing to be able to think a 3 or to, orchestrate a 2-minute drill.
Right.
But how do you provide decades of entertainment out of your head? And I'm so glad we had this talk because you're workshopping with me on the air. And now I have a couple other aspects I'm going to put out today.
That's great. You're my new hero in terms of self-promotion. I'm going to listen back through this and pull myself out of the closet when I'm running around talking about me. This is great.
You know what the truth is? And this is what I've realized. If you don't promote yourself, nobody else will.
Of course. Right. We know this intellectually, but it's very hard to do it with some grace and style. And, but I'm trying to give you a compliment. That's,
really nice.
Believe it or not.
You know what? I'll take it. I'll take it. Sometimes you figure you'll take the compliment any way it comes. What's the old adage is like, who cares if you're in the paper as long as they spell your name right?
All right. Let's get your take on this big game. Speaking of entertainment, how is this game going to entertain us this weekend? What's your guess? What's your take?
Battle of the Youngbloods, right? I love Joe Burrow, and I want to see whether he'll be able to join Brady and co. in the second year winning a Super Bowl. And I love the fact that most people on the street can't name 3 Bengals. So I think it's fun to watch a bunch of guys that nobody knows. I love that it's kind of taking who dis, but out of into a new neighborhood. And as for Matthew Stafford, I'm a storyteller. I love a feel-good story. I love the fact that all of Detroit is rooting for a guy that left them behind.
Right.
And why? Because he's a really good guy. He's a great family guy. He's a good person. And, those of us who have done sidelines, the first group of people you talk to are the offensive linemen. And it's how they feel about their quarterback. I know a lot of guys who hated the guy they were protecting.
Right.
And the way the Rams players talk about their leader, I think, is inspirational. And I also love to see Odell Beckham Jr. That's a great comeback story.
Yeah.
So those are the stories that appeal to me. So
yeah. I'm rooting for Stafford too.
Right. Right? I just think, I don't know, I think it's in keeping with what I said earlier. We need to root for a hero or two. And the fact that he's such a good guy makes me feel like I'd love to see him take it home.
Right.
Redemption stories always make me happy.
Yeah, for sure. For the 13th year in a row, he's home for the Super Bowl. It's a great story, right?
Listen, it's fantastic. I love it. And I love the fact that my husband is in town for the whole week, and I can make him wake up the kids so I can go to the gym early. You know what I'm saying? So I like the fact that we're in L.A. because I'm selfish and makes my life easier.
Our producers are waving at us. We got to run, but it's great to spend some time with you. Thank you very much, Suzy.
Bye, guys. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Thank you.